Captain James Miller stood at the viewport of his small trading ship, his hands clenched into fists as he watched the Dominion warships gather around New Haven colony. The massive vessels hung in space like dark clouds before a storm, their hulls gleaming with the cold purple energy that powered all Dominion technology. "They can't do this," whispered Tom, his young communications officer. "There are 10,000 people down there." Miller knew better. The Dominion could do whatever they wanted. They had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years, and humanity had been their servants for the last 50. He watched as the warships moved into attack formation, their weapons charging with that familiar purple glow. New Haven had failed to meet its mineral quotas for the third quarter in a row. The colony's governor had begged for mercy, explaining that a series of earthquakes had damaged their mining equipment. But the Dominion didn't accept excuses. They never had. "Send an emergency signal to all human ships in the sector," Miller ordered, his voice steady despite the rage building in his chest. "Tell them to stay away. We can't save the colony, but we can save others from witnessing this." The first beam struck the planet's surface, and Miller forced himself to watch. The purple energy cut through the atmosphere like a knife through paper, turning the sky into fire. He thought about the families down there, the children in schools, the miners who had worked themselves to death trying to meet impossible demands. More beams followed, methodically targeting each settlement. The Dominion was nothing if not thorough in their punishments. They called it maintaining order through example. Miller called it murder. Its ship's sensors recorded everything: the destruction of homes, the vaporization of forests, the boiling of lakes. The Dominion's energy weapons didn't just kill, they erased. In less than an hour, New Haven went from a thriving colony of 10,000 souls to a scared wasteland. "Sir," Tom's voice cracked as he read the incoming message. "The Dominion command ship is broadcasting. They want all vessels in the sector to acknowledge the lesson." Miller walked to his command chair and sat down heavily. For 50 years, humanity had bowed and scraped. They had given up their resources, their freedom, and now their dignity. All because the Dominion was too powerful to fight, too ancient to question, too vast to resist. He looked at his crew, 5 humans who had seen too much. In their eyes, he saw the same fury that burned in his own heart. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own wars. They had reached the stars through sheer determination. And now they were supposed to watch their own people be slaughtered for failing to meet a quota. "Send our acknowledgement," Miller said, standing up. "But add something extra. Send it on all frequencies, encoded in every human language." "What's the message, sir?" Tom asked, his fingers hovering over the console. Miller thought about Earth, about the billions living under Dominion rule. He thought about the colonies scattered across space, each one working under the same impossible demands. He thought about New Haven, now nothing but ash and memory. "One word," Miller replied, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's rage. "Enough." The message shot out into space, bouncing from ship to ship, colony to colony. In offices and homes across the galaxy, humans received the single word and understood. In the depths of space, and on countless worlds, humanity looked up at the purple ships of their overlords and whispered the same word: enough. In the coming days, the Dominion would learn something their 10,000 years of dominance hadn't taught them. When humans say enough, they mean it. And nothing in the galaxy can stop humanity once they've made up their minds. The war hadn't started with a grand battle or a formal declaration. It started with a single word, sent by a captain who couldn't watch another colony die. The Dominion's downfall began not with a bang, but with a whisper. Enough. Commander Anna Wells walked through the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, her footsteps echoing off steel walls. 50 years of Dominion rule had taught humanity to build deep, to hide their true strength beneath layers of rock and deception. The message from Captain Miller had reached Earth 3 days ago. One word that changed everything. Enough. Now, the facility buzzed with activity as humanity prepared for what many had thought impossible: fighting back. "Show me what you've found," Wells ordered as she entered the research lab. The room was filled with scattered pieces of purple glowing Dominion technology, salvaged from crashed ships and abandoned outposts over the years. Dr. Thomas walked up to her, holding what looked like a broken Dominion energy rifle. "Commander, we've discovered something incredible. The Dominion's weapons, they're not as advanced as we thought. They're just old. Very, very old." Wells picked up the rifle, feeling its weight. "Explain." "Their technology hasn't changed in thousands of years. Not one improvement, not one upgrade. They've been using the same designs since before humans invented the wheel." Dr. Thomas pointed to the weapon's power core. "But we found a way to make it better." He pressed a button, and the rifle's purple glow shifted to a bright blue. 30% more power, 20% less energy consumption. "We did in 3 days what they haven't done in 10,000 years." Wells smiled. The Dominion's greatest weakness had always been their pride. They believed their technology was perfect, unchangeable. But humans never stopped tinkering, never stopped improving. "How many weapons can we modify?" she asked. "That's the best part," Dr. Thomas grinned. "We can modify all of them. And not just weapons. Their ships, their shields, their communication systems. Everything they use is based on the same ancient principles. Once you understand one piece of their technology, you understand it all." Wells walked to the main computer display, where a map showed Dominion patrol routes across the solar system. For 50 years, these patrols had kept humanity trapped in their own star system. Now they looked less like prison bars and more like targets. "Begin mass production," she ordered, "but keep everything hidden. The Dominion thinks we're simple servants. Let's keep it that way for now." In the weeks that followed, humanity's underground resistance grew stronger. Every colony that received Miller's message began their own secret preparations. Earth's hidden factories worked day and night, improving and reproducing Dominion technology. Wells stood in her command center, watching the reports come in. The Dominion's rigid thinking had left them vulnerable. They checked the same areas at the same times, followed the same patrol routes, used the same tactics they had used for millennia. They were predictable. "Commander," her assistant called out, "the First Fleet is ready." Deep in asteroid belts and hidden moon bases, humanity had built their answer to Dominion oppression. Ships that looked like humble mining vessels on the outside, but carried weapons that would make their master's technology look obsolete. "Send the signal," Wells ordered. "Tell every cell, every colony, every hidden facility. We move in 3 days." The message went out, encoded in regular trade transmissions. To the Dominion, it would look like normal human communication. They never bothered to look too closely at what their servants were saying to each other. Humanity had spent 50 years learning their oppressors' weaknesses, studying their patterns, and improving their technology. Now they were ready to show the galaxy that the most dangerous force wasn't the one that never changed. It was the one that never stopped changing. The resistance was ready. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn why you should never give humans time to prepare, never give them a reason to unite, and never, ever make them angry enough to say enough. The war was about to begin, and the Dominion would never see it coming. Admiral Robert Thompson watched the massive Dominion shipyard through his vessel's view screen. The facility hung in space like a giant purple spider web, constructing the warships that had terrorized humanity for 50 years. In less than an hour, everything would change. "Status report," he commanded, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "All ships in position, sir," his tactical officer replied. "The Dominion's patrol ships are exactly where we predicted. Same route, same speed, same time, just like they've done for the last 1,000 years." Thompson nodded. 30 human ships waited in the darkness of space, hidden behind a field of asteroids. From the outside, they looked like regular mining vessels. Inside, they carried weapons that would make the Dominion's technology look ancient. "Send the signal," Thompson ordered. Let's show them what humanity can do. The first phase of the attack began silently. Small drones, designed by Earth's engineers, slipped past the Dominion's defenses. The purple-skinned aliens never noticed. They were too used to looking for large ships, too confident in their superiority to watch for tiny threats. The drones attached themselves to the patrol ship's engines. For 50 years, humans had studied how Dominion ships worked. Now, they knew exactly where to strike. "Drones in position," the tactical officer reported. "Ready on your command, sir." Thompson took a deep breath. This moment would change everything. Execute Phase 1. The drones activated simultaneously. Instead of exploding, they sent out a signal that made the patrol ship's ancient engines overload. Purple energy sparked and died. Within seconds, every Dominion patrol vessel hung dead in space. Phase 2, Thompson commanded. Launch fighters. Hundreds of small ships poured out of the human vessels. They looked like maintenance pods, the kind humans had used to repair Dominion ships for decades. But these pods carried improved versions of Dominion weapons, made stronger and faster by human innovation. The shipyard's defenses activated, but they were designed to fight large ships, not swarms of tiny fighters. The human pilots weaved through the purple energy beams, using attack patterns the Dominion had never seen before. "They're trying to call for help," his communications officer reported with a grin. "But our jamming systems work better than they expected. Their signals aren't getting through." Thompson watched as the fighters struck key points across the shipyard. Humans had spent years maintaining these facilities. They knew every weakness, every vulnerable spot. Explosions bloomed in space as human ingenuity overcame Dominion arrogance. "Main force, move in," Thompson ordered. "Show them what their own weapons can do when properly improved." The 30 human ships emerged from hiding. Their weapons glowed blue instead of purple, modified by Earth scientists to be stronger and more efficient. The shipyard's remaining defenses didn't stand a chance. In the command center, Thompson received reports of similar attacks across Dominion space. While the main fleet hit the shipyard, other human forces struck supply lines, communication centers, and patrol bases. 50 years of playing servants had taught humanity exactly where to hit their masters. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the shipyard's main reactor is critical. We should pull back." Thompson gave the order to retreat, but stayed to watch through the view screen. The massive facility, symbol of Dominion power, erupted in a spectacular explosion. Purple energy turned to blue flame, then to nothing. As his fleet regrouped in safe space, Thompson sent a message to Earth: "First strike successful." The Dominion just learned that their servants have teeth. The response from Earth Command was simple: "Humanity strikes back." Let them remember this day. In the wreckage of the shipyard, the remaining Dominion ships faced a terrifying truth. Their perfect empire had just been wounded by those they thought too weak to fight. And this was only the beginning. Dr. Marie Lawrence stood before the holographic display in her laboratory on Mars, watching dots of light represent battles across the galaxy. Purple markers showed Dominion forces, blue markers showed human ships, and now green markers had begun appearing. Other alien species joining the fight against their ancient oppressors. "Another success from the Beta sector," her assistant reported. "The rock people of Centauri used our modified shield technology. They turned the Dominion's own orbital weapons against them." Lawrence smiled. The rock people had been miners like humans, forced to dig up precious metals for their masters. Now they were free. "How many species have joined us so far?" 12 confirmed rebellions in the past week alone. The Dominion can't understand how their defensive systems are failing across so many worlds. The answer was simple, though the Dominion would never guess it. Lawrence had discovered that all their defense platforms used the same basic code, unchanged for thousands of years. Once she found a way to hack one, she could hack them all. A red alert flashed on her screen. The Dominion had launched a massive counterattack against Earth's colonies. Their response to rebellion was always the same: overwhelming force. But this time was different. As their warships approached the colony worlds, they found their weapons wouldn't fire. Their shields wouldn't activate. Lawrence virus had spread through their network, turning their own technology against them. "Send the defense codes to all rebel worlds," she ordered. "Let everyone see that the Dominion isn't invincible." Across the galaxy, enslaved species watched in amazement as human ships outmaneuvered the mighty Dominion fleet. They saw modified fighters slip past ancient defenses. They witnessed the impossible, the masters of the galaxy retreating from their former servants. "Doctor," her assistant called out urgently, "incoming transmission from the Shadow Dancers of Proxima." The Shadow Dancers had been spies and messengers for the Dominion, their natural ability to blend with darkness, making them perfect informants. Now they wanted to share what they knew. "Their central command is in chaos," the Shadow Dancers' message revealed. "They've never faced a rebellion like this. Their leaders argue while their empire burns." Lawrence sent the intelligence to Earth Command, then turned her attention to a new project. On her workbench lay pieces of a Dominion communication device. If she could crack its code, they could listen to every order the Empire gave. Reports kept flowing in. The Tree Lords of Sirius had uprooted their Dominion overseers. The crystal mines of Vega had shattered their chains. Every species that humanity helped added their own strengths to the rebellion. "The Dominion just burned 3 of their own worlds," her assistant reported grimly. "They're punishing anyone who shows signs of rebellion." Lawrence clenched her fists. "They still think fear will save them. They don't understand that fear is what will destroy them." She watched the holographic display as more green dots appeared. Each one represented hope. Hope that the galaxy could change, that ancient tyranny could fall, that the future belonged to those who dared to imagine something better. "Send a message to all friendly species," she commanded. "Tell them the time for hiding is over. Humanity will share everything we've learned about fighting the Dominion. Together, we're stronger than their empire ever was." The response was immediate. Across thousands of worlds, countless species rose up against their purple-skinned masters. The Dominion had ruled through division, keeping their servants separated and afraid. Now those servants were united, and their combined strength was unstoppable. The galaxy was changing. The ripples of humanity's rebellion had become a tidal wave, and the Dominion's perfect order was drowning in it. Lawrence looked at the stars and knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Leader Mark Anderson stood in the great hall of the captured Dominion space station, looking at the assembled representatives of 20 different species. Each had broken their chains. Each had a score to settle, and each now looked to humanity for guidance. "The Dominion thought they were clever," Anderson addressed the gathering. "They kept us apart, made us think we were alone. But they forgot something important. They made us all maintain their technology. Now we know how to break it." The Tree Lords of Sirius raised their branch-like arms in agreement. Their natural ability to process complex data had helped crack the Dominion's communication codes. Beside them, the crystalline beings from Vega hummed with energy. Their power amplification abilities had made human weapons even stronger. "Latest report from the front lines," his aide whispered. "The Rock people just took 3 more mining systems. The Dominion fleet couldn't adapt to their asteroid-hiding tactics." Anderson nodded. The Dominion's rigid military doctrine was failing against the combined creativity of many species. When the Rock people hid in asteroids, the Shadow Dancers struck from the dark, and human ships attacked head-on. The Empire's commanders didn't know how to respond. "We've learned each other's strengths," Anderson continued. "The Dominion made us all servants, but they never knew what we could really do. Together, we're more than they ever imagined." The holographic display in the center of the hall showed the current state of the war. Purple regions of Dominion control were shrinking. Blue zones of human influence and green areas of allied species grew larger every day. A crystal mind floated forward, its thoughts translated by a human device. "The Dominion burns rebel worlds. They destroy their own territory rather than lose control. How do we stop such madness?" Anderson walked to the display and pointed to the Empire's capital systems. They burn worlds because they're desperate. Their perfect order is falling apart. They don't know how to handle enemies who think differently, who fight differently, who keep changing their tactics. The Shadow Dancers' representative emerged from the darkness. Our spies report their leadership is splitting. Some want to negotiate. Others want to burn everything. They fight among themselves while we grow stronger. That was the key difference. While the Dominion argued about holding on to their power, the Rebel Alliance shared everything. Technology, tactics, resources. Humanity's adaptability had shown them all a better way. We're not just fighting for freedom, Anderson declared. We're building something new. A galaxy where every species can grow, can change, can become more than what they were made to be. The Alliance members raised their voices, appendages or energy fields in agreement. The Dominion had ruled by forcing everyone to stay the same. The rebellion succeeded by embracing change and difference. Reports came in from across the galaxy. The crystal mines had found a way to disrupt Dominion energy weapons. The Tree Lords had developed organic computers that could outthink Empire systems. The Rock People had turned entire asteroids into stealth battleships. The Dominion calls this chaos, Anderson said. They say we're destroying their perfect order. But look around this room. Look at what we've accomplished together. This isn't chaos. This is evolution. The gathered species roared their approval. On the display, more purple regions turned blue and green. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was falling to the combined might of its former servants. Together, Anderson raised his voice. We are unstoppable. The Dominion's time is ending. The future belongs to those who dare to change. The revolution had become something greater than a rebellion. It had become the next step in galactic history. The moment when the oppressed united and proved that adaptation was stronger than tradition, that cooperation was more powerful than control. Captain Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of the largest human battleship ever built, the Enough, named after the word that had started the rebellion. Around her ship, 10,000 vessels from 20 different species prepared for the final battle. The Dominion home system lay ahead, protected by defenses they had called unbreakable. All fleet commanders reporting ready, her tactical officer announced. The Rock People are in position behind the outer asteroids. Shadow Dancers have infiltrated their sensor networks. Tree Lords have their organic ships standing by. Wright looked at the massive purple energy shield that protected the Dominion's throne world. For 10,000 years, no enemy had ever breached it. But no enemy had ever united so many species against them. Begin Operation Thunderstrike, she commanded, just like we planned. The first wave seemed chaotic. Ships attacked from all directions, each species using different tactics. The Dominion's defenders responded exactly as expected. They followed their ancient battle plans, never adapting, never changing. Their commanders are sending out standard response patterns, reported the Shadow Dancers. They think this is just another rebel attack. Wright smiled. Now for the real surprise. Dr. Laurent, are you ready? The scientist's voice came through clear on the command channel. Virus uploaded to their defense network. 50 years of maintaining their systems finally pays off. On your command, Captain. Execute Phase 2. Across the Dominion's home system, their mighty defenses began to turn against them. Shield generators overloaded. Weapon platforms targeted their own ships. Communication networks broadcast rebel messages instead of orders. They're panicking, the Shadow Dancers reported with satisfaction. Their leaders are arguing about whether to retreat or fight to the death. The Dominion had never faced defeat in their history. They didn't know how to handle it. But the rebels had all known defeat, had all lived under oppression. They knew how to fight back, how to rise again, how to turn weakness into strength. All ships, advance. Wright ordered. Show them what the United Galaxy can do. The rebel fleet surged forward. Crystal mine ships amplified human weapons to unprecedented power. Tree Lord vessels released clouds of organic computers that overwrote Dominion control systems. Rock People ships turned asteroids into projectiles that shattered purple warships. The Dominion's perfect formation broke. Their ships tried to fight individually, but they had forgotten how. They had relied on unity through control for so long that they couldn't handle true cooperation. Their main shield is failing, her tactical officer reported excitedly. The virus is working. Wright stood from her command chair. All ships target the capital city. Humanity will lead the charge, just like we led the rebellion. For every world they burned, for every people they enslaved, for every dream they crushed. Fire. 10,000 ships fired at once. Human ingenuity, crystal mind power, tree lord precision, and the strength of every rebel species combined into one unstoppable force. The purple shield shattered like glass. The Dominion's throne world, heart of their 10,000-year empire, lay exposed. Their rulers, who had commanded the galaxy through fear and control, watched as their former servants broke through every defense they had built. "They're surrendering," the Shadow Dancers announced. "The High Command is asking for terms." Wright looked at the planet below, where purple towers were darkening as their power failed. "Tell them our terms are simple. Their empire ends today. The age of unity through freedom begins." Cheers erupted across all channels as the news spread. Ships of all shapes and sizes, crewed by beings of all forms and origins, celebrated together. The Dominion had fallen not to a single mighty force, but to the combined strength of all those they had tried to keep apart. The war was ending. Now came the harder task, building a galaxy where no species would ever enslave another again. Admiral Robert Thompson stood at the window of the new Galactic Council chamber, built where the Dominion's throne room once stood. The purple towers of the former empire had been rebuilt in all colors of the spectrum, each shade representing a different species that now called this world home. "It's been 1 year since the fall," his aide remarked, looking at the bustling city below. "Sometimes I still can't believe we did it." Thompson watched as ships of all designs flew through the sky. Human vessels with their blue energy trails flew alongside the organic ships of the Tree Lords. Crystal mine transporters sparkled in the sunlight, while Shadow Dancer stealth ships flickered in and out of view. "The Dominion could never have imagined this," Thompson said. "They thought mixing species would bring chaos. Instead, it brought progress." The great council chamber behind him was filling up with representatives from 100 different worlds. Former slaves and former masters sat together, learning to be equals. It hadn't been easy. Freedom never was. Latest reports from the outer systems. His aide handed him a datapad. "The last Dominion loyalist fleet has surrendered. The Rock people offered them sanctuary if they agree to share their knowledge freely." That was the core of the new galaxy they were building. Knowledge wasn't meant to be hoarded or controlled, but shared and improved upon. Every species brought their own insights, their own ways of thinking, their own contributions to the greater whole. Thompson walked to the center of the chamber, where the original message that started it all was displayed. Enough. Below it sat Captain James Miller, the man who had first spoken that word. He had survived to see his spark of rebellion change the galaxy. "The council session is about to begin," announced Dr. Marie Laurent, now head of the new science division. "We're voting on the Constitution today." The document they had created was unlike anything the Dominion would have understood. It didn't force species to be the same. It protected their right to be different. It didn't demand obedience. It encouraged cooperation. All members present called out leader Mark Anderson, who had become the first council chairman. "Let us begin." Thompson took his seat and looked around the chamber. The Tree Lords swayed gently, their branches processing data faster than any computer. The crystal minds glowed with shared thoughts and ideas. The Rock people sat solid and steady, their presence a reminder of the strength in standing together. The first article, Anderson read, establishes that no species may claim dominion over another. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins. As the council members voted, Thompson thought about how far they had come. A year ago, these chambers had been filled with purple-robed Dominion lords issuing commands. Now it was filled with beings of all kinds working together to forge a better future. "The Constitution is ratified," Anderson announced as the final votes were counted. Cheers erupted in 100 different languages and forms. Thompson stood and walked to the historical archives, where a Dominion crystal recorded the Empire's final moments. He added a new entry. On this day, the galaxy chose a new path. Not order through control, but peace through understanding. Not unity through force, but strength through diversity. Outside, the sun was setting on the capital world, its light reflecting off ships and buildings in a rainbow of colors. The purple glow of the Dominion was gone, replaced by the combined light of 1,000 civilizations working together. Was it worth it? His aide asked quietly. All the fighting, all the sacrifice. Thompson watched as a group of young humans played with tree lord seedlings and rock people children in a new park below. "Look around," he answered. "We didn't just end an empire. We built something better. And this is just the beginning." The galaxy was entering a new age. The time of oppression was over. And it had all started with a single word, spoken by a species that refused to accept chains. Enough.